able to join us.
My apologies, Ben. I did not send you my bio. You have it from this point going forward. Brian,
it's all right. It's all right. That's okay. You know, just
I'll send it to you. So going forward, if I have to do these impromptus again by Brian's demand for me to do something, you have my information, man. But I'll be kind of scrambling, man.
All right. Well, it's about time. But just so all of you know, we are live. We are being broadcast now. So hi, everyone watching. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Casey and I just having a conversation, and he's apologizing to me because he was slacking a little bit, but that's okay. We're gonna let him off the hook. So we're gonna wait about another minute. We've got about 50 or 60 folks watching live right now. We'll probably have more and more keep coming in during this process. And there she is, Miss Nakia. So we are actually live, Nakia, and have an audience. So welcome. Glad you're jumping on. We see your window now, but we'll get you there in just a minute. We'll get you there in just a minute. So we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. And
just formal. 1 second, I'm coming.
You're fine. You're fine. So I'm going to mute you if I can, Benjamin. I don't know if you gave me the controls to do that. You did not. So let's get started. We've got an audience. We're live, and it is 10:02. So we're actually a couple of minutes late. Good morning, appraisers. My name is Brian Reynolds. You're watching the Appraisal Report webinar, brought to you as always by the fine folks of Appraiser eLearning. We're glad you're here. I'm super excited to have my guest with me today. We skipped last month, so my apologies, but we are back, and we've already got a scheduled speaker for next month. So we are back in action, and we will be coming back to you on a regular basis, typically the fourth Thursday of every month at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You're watching us via YouTube, so go ahead and subscribe to our channel. That will let you know when we have these broadcasts, as well as when we have special edition webinars, which we have on a pretty regular basis. We did that when Perea passed. So the practical applications of real estate appraisal, in the event you didn't know what Perea was. These sessions are all being recorded. They are available on YouTube even after the fact. So if you have a house you need to go appraise, and you can't see this webinar in its entirety, you can go back on the YouTube channel and watch the recorded version. Finally, this is live, it's unscripted, and we want you to participate. So you have the ability to type in questions via the chat. So if you want to ask me or any panelist a question, just type that in. Ben will get those over to us, and we'll answer as many questions as time allows for. So Casey, why are you interrupting me? Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for my guests for being here. And we'll just dive right in. I'm going to let all of these folks introduce themselves really quickly as we have 4 great guests. I'm excited to be here. So we'll start with Miss Sierra. Sierra, tell everybody who you are and what it is you do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sierra. I am a residential appraiser trainee here in the Phoenix, Arizona market, and I am a little ways into my journey and starting my hours a little ways into that. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me, Brian.
Thank you, Sierra, for being here. Miss Kelsey Rendell, tell everybody who you are. You are muted, so you got to take that off, and what it is you do.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelsey. I'm an associate appraiser here in Kentucky. Brian is actually my supervisor. Like Sierra, I'm working on my hours. I've been licensed since July of last year.
Very good. And Miss Nakia Manning, welcome. Glad you made it. Tell everybody who you are and what it is you do.
Okay, first of all, my apologies, Brian. I didn't realize we were going to be in such a formal setting. You know, usually you're informal. I just, you asked for my help. You asked for my bio and my headshot, and I sent it. And I do apologize for my kind of sporadic behavior. I am Nakia Manning. I am registered trainee. I'm a registered appraiser / appraiser trainee in the Atlanta market. I have completed my 24 months required experience time. I am working on my classes currently, and I am about 100 and at this point about 190 hours shy of my complex hours. And so I'm working on completing these last things, the classes and the hours, so that hopefully I can sit for the exam by the end of the summer.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for being here. I know I kind of had short notice for all of you, so I appreciate your willingness to be here and participate in the program. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Casey Parham. Casey, unmute, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and you have the floor. Go. Oh, I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Benjamin, are you there? We'll give it one last try here.
Can you hear me now?
I got you now. Go.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. My name is Casey Parham. I'm actually affiliated with Brian for several years. He's been my mentor. He's been my instructor as I did my journey through my trainee process for 14 years as a registered trainee for the state of Tennessee. Now I'm a certified residential appraiser for the state of Tennessee. So I got my license last year. So it's been an experience. It's been very unpredictable, but it's been a great journey that I'll never pass through and never want to give up. And so just welcome to you all. Glad to see you all. Be glad to meet you all and hear your stories. That's all I got.
Thanks, Casey, for being here. So I brought Casey in because, you know, I thought he was on track to be a lifelong trainee there for a minute. Which is fine. I've met some of them actually, but Casey had some challenges because he had taken his core classes, you know, principles, procedures so long ago, they made him retake them. Right? They weren't valid anymore. So he had to actually come back to class, which that doesn't kill you if you've got to take a class again. I mean, it's probably helpful to refresh your memory on some of that stuff, especially when you're about to take an exam, right? So I'm sure that probably helped sharpen your skills a little bit on some of that information. So I brought Casey in because he's been a long-term trainee and he just successfully became a certified residential appraiser. So he's going to be able to chime in a lot and talk about some of the challenges that he's had in his journey from making the decision to become an appraiser to actually becoming one. So Casey, thanks for carving out a little bit of time to spend with us. So let's just dive right into the subject matter here. And this session is really entitled How to Become an Appraiser. So we have a big wide variety of audience here. We have appraisers, we have AMCs, we have regulators, investigators, we have GSEs, and we have just individuals that are curious, right? And with this one being titled How to Become an Appraiser, we may have some folks watching today or will watch the recorded version that maybe they're a real estate agent and they're thinking about moving over and securing and obtaining their appraiser license. So let's dive into that. Sierra, you come from a family of appraisers. So tell us what were your first steps in trying to start that process?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So actually, I think my first step was checking with the state regulatory agency. What is required? How long will it take me? What do my hours look like? What do the classes that I need look like? And then going from there, trying to find my classes. And obviously it was in COVID, so it was online. I do wish that I was able to take them in person, but that's okay. I still got here. But then, trying to find a mentor, which is the big big thing for appraiser trainees to find a mentor. So that was just kind of the first step, but definitely checking with state regulatory agency first to see what's required, because every state is very different.
Yeah. So let me just kind of go around the room real quick and let's find out how each of you found that person, because that is probably the number one obstacle for getting into this profession, right? The traditional model is you have to have a supervisor. Some folks call them a mentor, right? And historically, if you can't find one, your journey's over before it's begun, right? So real quickly, let's just run around the room. Casey, back when you found your supervisor, and I know you ended up having a couple of different supervisors. I think one of your supervisors passed away, unfortunately. But how did you find that first mentor? And then when that mentor was no longer around, how did you find another one? Yeah, I lost you again on your audio, bud. So while we're waiting on him to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Leave it alone. Don't touch it again.
Yeah, I'm not touching anything.
Go ahead.
Well, I kind of got a interesting journey, people. First of all, I started out knowing about appraising through a college buddy of mine. His dad is a certified general out of the state of Arkansas. I'm from Arkansas. And we both graduated from University of Arkansas. Both went out into the corporate world, and he left and went home and started working with his dad. Never knew anything about appraising. I didn't. And so once I actually moved to Tennessee after graduating, I started working, and he started doing appraising, and all of a sudden things started taking off for him. And however, so I wanted to get into the business, and he wasn't able to sponsor me right away because he had just obtained his license. So he had to wait 2 years for the state of Tennessee in order for him to have a trainee to work under him. So for those 2 years, I had to find someone to sponsor me. So I finally found a gentleman by the name of Elmer Moore. Elmer Moore, he was an elderly gentleman. He had retired from the post office and got his appraisal license along the way, and started doing it full-time along with his real estate company. Unfortunately, Mr. Moore passed away maybe a year and a half into my my trainee licensing journey with him. So then I had to find another sponsor. By this time, my friend had served his 2 years. However, he had let his Tennessee license expire. So I had to find another gentleman. His name was Jeff Jones. And but it took me a minute to get Jeff Jones to sponsor me because he didn't want to sponsor anybody. So it took me about a year and a half. So altogether, about 3.5 years for me to just continuous run at being a trainee to work under someone. So so if you find someone, please make them happy. Do whatever you need to do in order for you to obtain your hours. So if it sacrifice you to work on weekends on Sunday, that's what you got to do. So I'm just giving you just a little bit of advice of what I had to go through. It was well worth it. But just make sure that you just keep the momentum going and do whatever you need to do to be to get to your certified residential.
Yeah, position. I mean, it may be, and a lot of folks don't like to hear this, but it may be that you have to make some sacrifices, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially early on. And I tell folks, and it's probably another session for us, but from going from certified residential to certified general, because we need more appraisers, but we need more certified general appraisers. So how do you do that? And we can talk about that in another setting, but sometimes you got to make a little bit of sacrifice. And if you're looking at that pot of gold at the end of the, at the finish line, then you might be willing to make that sacrifice. Kelsey Randall, what happened to you? Did you have a supervisor off the cuff, or what happened?
Well, I come from a small town, and there's really only about one appraiser, and she was getting older and about to retire. So I had talked to her a little bit about being her mentor, but it didn't work out. And I actually met Brian when I took my supervising the trainee course. And he had mentioned that if he ever needed a supervisor or knew of anybody that needed one, he would let me know. And it worked out that he ended up needing one a couple months after I took that class. And so I was able to be his trainee.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kelsey had all of her training out of the way. So that's something we'll talk about here in a little bit. You know, she was a little bit more attractive than a typical candidate that didn't have that training, because she had everything she needed to become a trainee, right? We call them associate appraisers in Kentucky. But if I'd brought just somebody else in that didn't have that already under their belt, we would have been starting much further, right? And now Kelsey's at the point where she can go out and look at property without me, as long as the lender's okay with it, right? It's not an FHA. We had one yesterday, just yesterday. It was a conventional, and I was going to just send her out there, and she called. Nope, gotta have the supervisor go, which is like, oh, that's so frustrating, because she's highly competent now to do that portion without me. So that's a little frustration. Nakia, what about you? You've been a trainee for a while now. You're down in the Atlanta market. You're muted, so you need to unmute. But tell us how'd you find your mentor or supervisor?
Well, my story starts way longer than 2 years ago. I first became a trainee with Georgia Department of Transportation back, over 15 years ago. And as a right-of-way specialist with the Georgia Department of Transportation, you were supposed to be on a career path to become certified general. So the first step was to, of course, become a trainee. So they paid for me to go to the Appraisal Institute and take classes, and I became a trainee. But what we weren't told was the likelihood of you actually getting hours were pretty slim, because the department I worked in, they actually hired out most appraisals to consultants. And so it really wasn't a huge opportunity, but I was interested, and I began to look for trainer, for mentors. But again, we didn't have Facebook. We didn't, we had the internet, but we didn't have an online community like we do now. And I just kept running into dead ends. So I got my realtor's license and just moved on. I let my trainee license lapse. And fast forward to about 3 years ago, my ex-husband said to me, well, my cousin's girlfriend is an appraiser. You should talk to her. And so, my story is a little bit different from everybody's, because this time I actually just kind of fell into it. My license number is actually older than hers. I'm older than her. And it was just a stroke of luck. I had given up totally on becoming an appraiser until I met her.
Gotcha. Now, Sierra, we said earlier you come from a family. So was that had to be a little bit easier for you, right?
Yeah, I'd say it was definitely easier, especially hearing a lot of other people's stories and their trials of finding a mentor. I still, I met with my mentor, and we talked a lot about the experience that I had, the knowledge that I had, what I could bring to the table for him, and also how, I'm personally, and not everyone has to do this, but I'm personally going to continue to work with him when I'm licensed, to kind of help him out. He's just a self-employed appraiser, to help him out after and kind of repay him for all of the time and money that he spent on me, but also just to continue learning, because I feel like every day I learn something new. And so I'm assuming over that 3 years, I will get a lot more knowledge than just over the year of my hours. So, but yeah, so it was a little bit easier, but it's still, how can I market myself? What can I bring to the table? And that was still important.
Right. So let's stay on this same vein here for a minute, since this is a real common issue, right? Finding that supervisor. what recommendations, and I'll just stay with you, Sierra, since we're with you right now. What recommendations would you have to someone watching? You know, I know a young lady that's taken all 11 classes and she can't find a supervisor, right? Nakia just demonstrated, you know, the issues that she had, right? Where she kind of gave up. She got her real estate license. So someone's watching right now and they're thinking about, hey, this sounds like a pretty cool profession. I'm interested. But now I'm a little nervous. What if I can't find a supervisor? What recommendations would you give to that person watching right now?
I'd say definitely learn as much as possible. We talked about it in Kelsey and I's Clubhouse room the other day that, you know, take a home measurement course, take all these courses that may not count towards your hours, but will give you the knowledge to better assist you to market yourself to an appraiser that, you know, it's something less that they have to teach you. And it's something that you're bringing to the table. Hey, I'm certified in home measurement and I already know how to measure houses. And so that's something that I can take off your plate because after the classes, there's still a lot to learn. Or maybe you're really great at accounting and you're working for a self-employed appraiser and they need help with that on the business side, or really good with managing websites. Something that would be able to assist the appraiser that you're wanting to learn under. But I definitely like the idea of taking extra courses, learning anything extra that you can learn, maybe taking courses on how to use Total or ACI or ANOW or the software, because that's a big one as well. But I would say definitely learning and getting some other experience under your belt.
Yeah. So I get it. And it probably makes you more marketable and knocking on that door and saying, hey, I've already got some assets that I can bring to the table. Right. I totally get that, but there's some risk associated with that. What if they start taking these courses? Like Kelsey took 4 courses, 5 actually. And what if she still couldn't find a supervisor? So I guess that's my question. If you can't find somebody in your immediate market area there, Casey, I mean, what would be your recommendation? Somebody calls you up on the phone and they say, look, I've called 58 appraisers and none of them are interested in talking to me. What would be your recommendation to that appraiser? Nope. You got to leave it alone next time. Try again. While he's trying to figure that out.
Can you hear me now?
I got you now. Don't touch it again.
All right. I promise you someone is, it says someone is, the host is muting something.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. We'll leave you alone now.
Yeah, leave me alone, Brian. My recommendation is just to continue to market yourself. I think that was Sierra that said, you know, just continue to market yourself and take classes. That really was important and key to me with Mr. Moore. Once he found out that I can actually go out and measure a house, or I could go out and take pictures, and picture taking is very important. People slip on that, but picture taking is very important. And I think that will eventually break down doors. You got to be persistent. Always go back and double check, because sometimes people like myself and like other appraisers, you know, we may just not want to talk about sponsoring you at that particular time. So if you double back, maybe that person may have room to say, okay, let me think about it. I am overwhelmed. I do need help. So I would say persistency and being able to continue to market yourself, even when they tell you no. That's just like being a salesperson, that you're going to get so many no's, but somebody is going to eventually say yes. So just continue to market yourself, continue to be persistent, and follow up. Even they've told you no, follow up in the next couple of weeks or months or whatever, and just say, hey, I'm still interested. Are you still have some availability, or do you have availability? So always continue to be positive about it. That's the most important thing. So it's going to happen. Just like Nakia, I mean, she got she let her license lapse, forgot all about it, and it just fell into her lap. So it can happen. So you have to just have persistence and just have the energy per se to know that, hey, I'm going to be positive about this. I'm going to continue to be persistent, and it's going to happen. Someone is going to sponsor me. So just continue to be positive. That's all.
So I think I'm hearing the theme here is don't give up, right?
Don't give up. Right.
Be persistent. Now we've had some comments, not really a question, but a comment from Heather S. And I want to read a couple of these. Heather said earlier, I totally relate. I've had 2 trainers so far, and I'm still working on hours. I had to convince both individuals that it was a good idea to take me on. I had my training and was already working in an office. And then she chimed in again and said, I feel like I had to sell my abilities to the individuals, even with the classes I'd taken, the money I'd spent. I think it comes down to I had skills that the appraiser I worked for did not have.
Yeah.
And it just now popped up. My skills have helped the trainer be able to take on more work and complete more appraisals than he would have on his own, building his business and his reach, not just appraisals in Tennessee, but we added Georgia and I guess that's Alabama. Awesome. Congratulations, Heather. So let me just tell you a little story that happened to me recently. This happened to me just, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago. I had a gentleman call. Claire put him on the calendar because that's the best way to do, just Sierra and I just had a meeting with Pat, and we'll actually talk about that, about the new trainee committee of the NAA. They created a new membership category for trainees. So we'll talk about that. Hopefully if we have time here in a little bit, but let me just tell you a story that happened to me recently. I had a call. Claire put him on the calendar. We allotted time to have a conversation, and I called and we had a conversation. This gentleman was, I believe, in Louisville. And he said, Mr. Reynolds, I need a supervisor. I need my hours. Trying to find somebody, right? I want to become an appraiser. What suggestions do you have? Or are you looking for a trainee? And I said, look, you asked me for my opinion, so hold on, I'm going to give it to you. Not trying to be rude. I'm giving you my opinion because that's what you asked for. I could bring you on. I could accomplish all those goals, help you accomplish all those goals. I could be your supervisor. We could let the Commonwealth of Kentucky know that. We could log your hours. I can help you get from where you're at today to becoming a certified residential appraiser. But why would I do that? What's in it for me? I know you need all that stuff, but what do I get out of this relationship? Right? So guys, if you're thinking about getting into this profession, you're thinking about making those phone calls, you need to change up your approach. If you call and say, I need, quite frankly, the business owner probably doesn't care. Businesses are in business to make money.
Brian, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
I have something that I forgot to also say. The biggest thing that was a selling point in my behalf, actually Mr. Moore accepted me as a trainee, was I had a prior experience with my friend, and I was able to bring on immediate business to him. And so not only was I able to do all the things that I needed to do as far as measuring, taking pictures and all that, I was also bringing business to him. So at the beginning, I did hardly any appraisals that was actually from his office. Everything that I did was something that I brought to him. So that's another selling point that you can also say that, hey, I get out there and do the legwork and start soliciting business and more clientele for you. I mean, so those are the things you have to be concerned about and able to help out with as a selling point to help them, because they're going to dish out and say, what's in it for me? It's all about the money.
Right. Well, and the issue is that we get calls as a certified appraiser. We get those calls all the time.
Right.
You know, I have hundreds of trainees or people that want to be trainees reach out to me every year, if not more. So the recommendation I have for you, if you need a mentor or supervisor, change up your approach. You know, Sierra might talk a little bit about a video ad, right? Something like that.
Right.
But if you come to that potential employer and say, look, I'm going to help you. I'm going to be an asset. I'm going to be the hardest worker you've ever had. I'm going to try and bring you in new business. I'm great with social media and I can build your brand on social media. We can help get you a website up and running. I'll call and solicit new clients. I'm great with technology. You know, Kelsey is a huge asset to me because she's really good with that technology. We go out in the field and she can zip, 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 zip through that iPad. Can I do it? Yeah, I could do it, but I can't do it as well as Ms. Kelsey can. She's really fast. She's really good at that. So that provides value to me, right? So that's how you need to approach these folks. Not, hey, I need. Quite frankly, they probably don't care what you need, right? They care about, and that's not always true. You know, I'm at this point in my career where I want to give back, right? So I do care. If I could bring on 3 trainees in Kentucky and 3 in Tennessee, if I had enough work, I'd do that in a heartbeat. And not just for me. I'm at that point in my career where I think we owe it to the profession to give back at some point in your career. And so I'm a little oddball there, right? But anyway, so we got a question here. Lori says, is that legal? Trainees are not supposed to solicit business, I thought. Well, so that's a great question, Lori. And let me just address that. In the past, we've seen trainees hang a shingle. And that would be like Sierra saying, okay, I'm going to hang a shingle that says Sierra's Appraisal Company and solicit work. And I got a supervisor that will sign off. I would say, yeah, Lori, that's wrong. That's impersonating a certified appraiser, which is probably a crime in many states, right? But if Sierra is working for me, why can't she solicit business for the company, for Reynolds and Associates or Reynolds Appraisal Service or Fine Point Valuations? You know, we got a few companies here, right? So why can't Kelsey pick up the phone and call one of the local banks and says, hi, I'm Kelsey with Reynolds Appraisal Service, and we'd like to see what it takes to get on your panel. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. And that's what we're proposing here, not the trainee trying to establish their own book of business, because that probably is crossing the line, both ethically and maybe even legally in some instances. So great question, Laura. I hope we address that. So Nakia, you've been on this little thing called Clubhouse. In fact, that's where I met you. Has that been a good resource for you as a trainee? And share a little bit about your story and what that network is with our audience.
Well, that would have been my comment in terms of things that one can do to find a mentor. I definitely agree with marketing your benefit to your mentor, but in order to find the network of people that may be willing to train you, if Clubhouse or Facebook, these online resources had been available years ago, I probably would be an appraiser right now. It has been phenomenal for me coming on and networking. I found out about NAA. I became a member of NAA simply because of Clubhouse. As you know, Brian, I came down to the conference in Bay St. Louis a few weeks ago, and the networking opportunities were endless. I have made some what I feel to be lifelong connections. I just booked myself for Vegas next week. But back to Clubhouse and Facebook, these resources are paramount to one becoming an appraiser if you can't find a mentor, because you have people like Brian Reynolds, you have people like John Dingaman who are out there and willing to help. Like at NAA, it was a family atmosphere. I still am talking to people that I met there that are saying, whatever I can do for you, I will. They're willing to give back. And so if you're listening to this and you don't have a mentor and you've hit walls like I did 15 years ago, the first thing to do is to get on Clubhouse, follow Brian, follow Sierra. That will lead you. Once you start looking at their profiles, you can see the different clubs that they're in. I came through from a female named Jessica, who was a trainee up in the DC, Maryland area. And I mean, even from her, I found out that the Urban League has a program with scholarships because they're trying to diversify the field of appraising. These are things that I had no clue about before meeting her and finding this wonderful online community. So, definitely market yourself and your skills. I think Sierra brought up a great point that I didn't even think about, becoming a certified measurement specialist, which I'm even going to take that course. I know how to measure houses, but I'm interested in making sure that I'm doing it the way that, is standard. That's a good point, because if you go to a mentor and you're already measuring houses, that's just one less thing for them to do. And just don't be afraid to get out here and meet people. And I don't remember his name, Brian, but one of the senior appraisers that had been on your Clubhouse, he tells a story about how one of his trainees sent him a video. I know you probably know the story that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where, he spoke to him for a few minutes and then he sent him a video, of, I guess, why he would be a good fit as a trainee. And it moved this guy to the point that he selected him. So, being creative probably is a good idea as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll let Sierra speak on that. But before we get to that, Kelsey, Nakia is talking about Clubhouse this, and I've kind of brought it up. A lot of the viewers watching right now is probably thinking, what in the heck is Clubhouse, right? It's relatively new, and many of us on the screen right now are on there and pretty active on it. So if a viewer is watching right now and they want to know what is Nakia speaking about, what is Brian talking about with regard to Clubhouse, tell the viewers, what is Clubhouse? What's it all about?
Brian actually introduced me to Clubhouse. I had never heard of it, but it is an app, just kind of like a social networking app. It's kind of different as far as you can't see the person that's talking. It's just your voices on there. You can see a little picture of them, but you get on there and there's different rooms, different topics. You can follow people and join rooms. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, Sierra, expand on that a little bit. First tell us what you and Kelsey do on Clubhouse on a regular basis, and then number two, everybody's curious about this video thing, and I think somebody had mentioned that was Blaine who had recommended that in some of his coaching stuff. So speak a little bit about Clubhouse.
Sure. Yeah. So Kelsey and I actually host a show under Brian and my dad, John Dingman, created a club called the Appraisal, the Real Estate Appraisal Talk Club. And Kelsey and I actually host a show on Mondays where we talk about appraisal trainees. So we talk about, everything from becoming an appraiser, how to get into the industry, your classes, how to find a mentor, tools to use, software. I mean, anything you can possibly think of, which has been really great. And I feel like we have new people joining all the time, but it's just really great. We always have really experienced appraisers in the room, including you, Brian, and a lot of other appraisers that are there to answer questions for trainees that they may not have access to that kind of network before this. And you guys host a show on Wednesdays, and Tim Anderson hosts on Tuesdays now, and there's lots of plans for more shows on Clubhouse, but it's just a really great way to learn. Sometimes I join your group and it's a little over my head, but I'm assuming once I get to that point, it'll make a little bit more sense. But I'll know that, I heard that before. But it's just really great learning and networking. And I've learned a lot from it, and I really appreciate having it as a trainee.
Yeah, let me chime in before you get moved to the video thing. Just for those watching right now, it's an iPhone thing. It'll be over on Android soon, but just go to your app store and download Clubhouse. It's it is social, but it's not social. It's a private club, and someone will probably recognize you and validate you. I call it validate. I don't know if that's a correct term or not, but they'll let you in the club. And we've got over 315 folks following that club presently, and it's continuing to grow. And it's a great opportunity. Nakia learned some things. She was able to expand. She joined the NAA as a consequence, came to the ACTS conference as a consequence, and she didn't need CE credit. So I tip my hat to that, right? Jason Covington, same thing. He didn't need any CE credit. He came to the ACTS conference to network, meet other appraisers, and learn. Imagine that, coming to a conference to learn, right? So we encourage you to jump on Clubhouse. We have a lot of great conversations, and you never know who's going to be in the room. We had a representative from Freddie Mac in the room last night. We had 3 representatives from Fannie Mae in the room on a regular basis. We had somebody that was formerly with the Appraisal Foundation, Jeff Bradford, the technology guru out in California, in the room. So we'll have 40, 50 attendees at any given time. And we're talking about appraisal stuff. And we encourage you to jump in there and check it out. So, Sierra, what's this video thing we're talking about?
Yeah, we've talked about it on Clubhouse before quite a bit, but a suggestion that was made, Blaine, I think Matthews talked about it as well in there, to make a video resume. A lot of appraisers, especially in the market right now, are so busy that for you, like you, Brian, you have to get on your schedule to talk to you, right? And so if you have a video resume that highlights what you bring to the table, how you can benefit that supervisor, that you're able to send out, maybe you're still cold calling and maybe you send it as a follow-up, or maybe you just send a video resume, but it's a longer lasting impression that they might not have time to talk to you on the phone. But when they're done with their appraisals at the end of the night, they can sit there and watch your video resume, and maybe there's something that makes you click with them. But I think it was a great idea. And if I was still looking for a mentor, I would definitely do that. But any appraiser that you're researching out there that you possibly could study under, it might be a good idea to create a video resume and send it out to market yourself a little bit and to leave a little bit of more of an impression.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about hours, accumulating hours in a minute, because that was something the very first time I think I met Nakia that I shared with, a different technique or trick, not really a trick, but an idea to accumulate and log hours, right, on your complex properties. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. I want to get into Perea, which is an alternative approach to the traditional. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We're already past the halfway mark. So let me do a little business here. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Appraisal Report webinar brought to you by Appraiser eLearning. We typically have these webinars the 4th Thursday of every month at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. They're free, so the price is right. These sessions are all recorded. So if you can't watch it in the entirety, you can jump over to YouTube and certainly watch the rest of it, as well as watching previous episodes. We also give you the opportunity to ask questions or comments, and we've got several comments coming in. I'm going to read a couple of those in a minute. So you get to interact with us live in real time. None of these are scripted. We don't rehearse this. It's just a conversation, and we have a live audience. If you would like to be on the program, or if you know of someone you think would be a great guest for the program, please reach out to Ben. And Ben, if you can put your contact information in the chat for those viewers to see, I would appreciate that. So before we jump over to Perea, let me read a couple of comments real quickly. Heather says, there are a lot of appraisers who don't have enough time to type the appraisal up. My original trainer was 78 years old, and he utilized my computer skills and typing skills. I type much faster, increasing his turnaround time. Great comment, Heather. I appreciate that. W said, or K says, I found my mentor through my community college real estate appraiser professor. I excelled in his class, and I asked him for a referral, and that's how I got my mentor. Great idea, Kay. So, if you're in class, maybe you put the word out. Hey, I'm looking for someone. I met Sierra. This is from Darrell. I met Sierra and Brian from Clubhouse. We haven't officially talked. However, they are very knowledgeable. I try to absorb as much as possible as I aspire to become an appraiser. Thank you, Darrell, for those kind words, and good luck to you on your journey. If we can help you in any way, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm a realtor for the state of Georgia. I found my mentor after they did some work for me. Thank you, Lindsay. That's a great comment. And here we go. We have a question. Centura asks, can a trainee only type reports? Is there a minimum number of hours the trainee has to be in the field? Nakia, you want to take that one? Can a trainee only type reports? Is there a minimum number of hours the trainee has to be in the field?
As far as the minimum number of hours a trainee has to be in the field, that may be something that is state specific. I've heard you guys on Clubhouse talk about, how many times or how many months someone must measure houses before they are allowed to do it, depending on the lender solo. So that one, Brian, you may be more qualified to answer, but we definitely do more than type reports. Of course, there's research that needs to be done for an appraisal. Of course, there's measuring the house, there's taking pictures. So no, you're definitely, usually the typing of the reports, it just depends on who your mentor is, may not come until later on. I didn't start actually typing or doing data entry with the reports until I had been working with my mentor over 6 months. So there's definitely more to it than just typing a report. I can promise you that.
Yeah, let me pull Kelsey in on this one, and then I'll talk about some of the minimum requirements as far as being out in the field in just a moment. But Kelsey, you're in kind of a unique situation because I mean, you're with me, but we're kind of running a couple of different, several different companies here. So let's break that down a minute. When you're doing an assignment that is with Fine Point, let everyone know, what do you kind of do with the Fine Point appraisals? And then what do you do in comparison when you get one with Reynolds Appraisal Service? Go.
For Fine Point, those are they're all in Tennessee, and we have a licensed appraiser there, Matt, and he will actually go out and do the inspections, and he'll upload that to Total, and I'm able at that point to hear his audio notes. He'll put in notes in the report about the house and his inspection, and me and Maddie here in the office will do the research and basically fill out the rest of the report. We'll pull the sales, and then if it's a harder one, I will get with Matt and we'll kind of finish that one together. But typically I'll do everything on that one, even the reconciliation, and I'll let him know when that one's ready and he'll sign it. As far as for here,
let me pause you there. So just so the viewers understand this, Matt is going out and doing the observation of the property. He's measuring the house. He's interviewing the owner. He fills out this information on a mobile device so that we get it back instantly, right? Or when he uploads it, should be instantly. He also takes audio notes so that he can actually, describe what he's seeing or results of the interview. Kelsey and Maddie, and actually Krista as well, they all work together. Krista is setting it up. Kelsey's filling out some of the information. Then Maddie's doing, more of the difficult work with the research, the analytics. And then it goes back to Matt. And Matt either says, yep, this looks good, I agree with, or he says, nah, I don't like this. We need to change it up. Matt's the one that is the appraiser. He is signing, so he accepts responsibility. So Matt has to make sure that he is okay with that final product, right? And so the point is, Kelsey's not going out and looking at those properties. Now, when you're working with Reynolds Appraisal Service, describe that process.
We use Dropbox. So Krista will put the engagement letter in Dropbox. She'll let us know we've got a new order, and she'll actually schedule that inspection for us. And depending on the client and the loan type, if it's conventional, I've started to sometimes go out and do the inspections by myself, but typically right now it's me and Brian. We'll go out and do the inspection, come back, and then me and Maddie again will do the research, do what we can on the report as far as pulling comps and everything else in the report. And then Brian kind of just reviews it, or if I have any questions, he'll help me finish that report as well.
Yeah. So just to give everyone a perspective, depending on the complexity of the assignment, we did our first, Kelsey did her, or participated in her first 2 to 4 family the other day, and it was 4 units. Well, I'm just not going to turn her loose and say, hey, figure it out. She's never done one, right? So she and I worked pretty closely on figuring that one out. But if we have a 12,000 square foot home, she's going to need some help figuring that out. But if it's a 1,200 square foot home, I mean, she doesn't even need me to go. If it's FHA, I have to go. If our client wants me to go, I have to go, right? Which is frustrating. That needs to change. But Kelsey is competent and has been doing this long enough that she kind of knows what she's doing there. Now, again, I'm signing the report. I'm accepting responsibility. So I'm reviewing that. I'm making sure I agree. No, Kelsey, I don't like comp number 2. Let's get rid of it. Let's replace it with something else. We're having that conversation. We're having that dialogue. But that shows you the difference, Darrell, Centora, on the level of involvement Kelsey has, depending on what company she's working with, right? So that, I hope that answered your question. Certainly more than just typing a report, right? As far as the number of inspections, there is a requirement. So in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, I had to accompany her with the first 50 assignments, right? So even if I thought she was competent, even if she felt comfortable and we were on number 30, nope, I still got to go with her, right? If you're in Tennessee, you have to accompany that appraiser for the first 500 hours. So I encourage you to look at your state requirements for that. I'm going to show you the real property appraisal criteria in just a minute on the Appraisal Foundation, where you can get that. We've got a lot of questions coming in now, but I'll show you that in just a minute. So before we do that, and I'll just open this up to any one of the 4 of you, Casey, Kelsey, Sierra, or Nakia. What do you think about Perea, practical applications of real estate appraisal? Give your thoughts on that avenue. This, and for the viewers, this is something that we've spent most of our time about trying to find a mentor or supervisor. This is a program that would allow you to not ever have a supervisor. It's been approved by the AQB, the Appraiser Qualification Board. I don't think there's any modules out yet, but there will be. And so it's in addition to all the required education. I said, you got to have 11 classes, and you do. So this would be something in addition to that, but it would give you an avenue to go through this training, whatever it ends up looking like. And if you successfully complete that training, you could set for the national exam and try and become a certified residential appraiser without ever having had a supervisor. So whoever wants to go. What's your thoughts on Perea?
I can go first. I think there are a lot of positives to it. I think there are some negatives depending on how you look at it, but the positives are you don't need a mentor, right? And that's a big hurdle that a lot of trainees have to jump over in order to become an appraiser. So it's more accessible. And also, I mean, just from what we've talked about, the possibility of what's going to be part of Perea is, virtual inspections. You can inspect whatever type of house that you want to inspect. Maybe you'll never see it out in the field with a supervisor, but you'll see it in this class and you'll know what to do because they have the ability to show you that. So I think there's just a lot of really great things. I think accessibility is the most. I think the only negative is you don't have a supervisor. So you don't have someone to bounce things off of, and you're not in person with somebody. So if that's how you learn, that might not be for you. But I think overall, it's more positive than negative. And the fact of it's accessible to people that it was never accessible to before.
All right, thank you, Casey. What are your thoughts? You went through the traditional model. And everybody on the screen right now is kind of going through the traditional model. They all have supervisors. But what are your thoughts about this Perea, where you would not have a supervisor? You wouldn't go through the traditional model. Oh, I can't hear you. Casey, you're killing me. Mute and then unmute again. See if that helps. I promise you guys, next time we have Casey on here, we will figure out his microphone. I got you. Go.
Well, to me, I think it would have been more versatile in my case, where if I could initially started, doing the process that, I could have both instances. Well, I would have because you can have more than one mentor. So, being able to have that, and then also maybe have a mentor as well, so you can get those key components that you're needing for your development as an appraiser, will have been key. But with my case, where it took me a while to find someone, I think that would have been very beneficial to me. I mean, I'm kind of jealous of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it might make you marketable to a firm,
That's right.
Maybe you want to work in a teamwork environment. Maybe you don't want to work by yourself. And you could go through that and then start knocking on doors and saying, hey, I'm a certified appraiser. I'd like to work with your group or your team, right?
That's right.
So there's some more questions coming in, and I want to get to as many of these. We're about to run out of time. I want to follow up on this one first, because Ryan P says, is it possible for a trainee to have more than one mentor? If one is fortunate enough to find a mentor, or one that's more than one individual willing to be a mentor, can a trainee have multiple mentors? Mm-hmm. Casey kind of answered that. Yes, Ryan, you can. And that might be kind of cool, because you get different perspectives, right? You get different perspectives from different trainers. Centaura follows up. So when Kelsey works for Matt, the hours typing the report goes toward her trainee hours. Correct. It depends. Unfortunately, Matt can't have a trainee right now because he's only been certified for 2 years. But if he could have a trainee, then yes, she would be able to log hours. But Centaura, I wouldn't say for typing, okay? Typing is a typist. Calling and scheduling an appointment to go look at a property is a scheduler. And I don't think that really constitutes significant real property appraisal assistance. If Kelsey and I go measure a house and she's holding the dumb end of the tape measure, that's a dumb end tape measure holder, right? I don't think that's significant real property appraisal assistance. But on the next one, if I said, hey, Kelsey, it's raining, you measure this one, I'm going in, right? And she measures it, or I hold the dumb end of the tape measure, then that is significant. I'm relying on Kelsey's measurements, and that is significant. So Centaur, let's rephrase your question a little bit. When she's doing some stuff for Matt, the research, finding the sales and making a decision of what's most comparable, right? I'm going to take this list of sales, which is factual data, and now I'm going to make a judgment call into what is comparable data. Then yes, she can most certainly log that if Matt was her supervisor in that case. A couple of other things. Kay says, I think it's a terrific idea. I think real estate agents can take a state license without any training. So I think she's talking about Perea there. And then finally, I also had what's very important for you is the supervisor absolutely needs to take the supervisor trainee intro course. That is true. Anything else here I need to talk about real quick? So let me share my screen if I can do that correctly. I want, can you guys see this right here? Somebody shake your head, yes or no? Okay. So what I did, guys, is I went to the Appraisal Foundation website. It's appraisalfoundation.org. This is their website. A lot of good information here, by the way. But if you look under this tab and you go to qualification criteria, here's some information regarding Perea you might want to check out. Here is real property criteria. So if you click on that tab, and if it were to come up, you see it spinning there, so it's not coming up. But That's the thing with a live broadcast. You never know what's going to happen. But it did finally come up. So this is what you want: real property appraiser qualification criteria. If you click on that, it tells you all the requirements to become an appraiser. But I want to caution you on this. You have to check with your particular state. The real property appraisal criteria set forth by the Appraisal Foundation is the minimum requirement, okay? Your state can require more. For instance, in many, if not most states, you have to take 3 classes and then the supervisor course. You have to take basic appraisal principles, basic appraisal procedures, the 15-hour national USPAP course, and then that state-specific trainee supervisor course. And then you can apply to get your trainee license, right? That's not true in Kentucky. Kentucky made it more strict. You have to take an additional course. You have to take a 15-hour highest and best use course. Then you can apply for that trainee license, okay? Lori K is asking, are lenders allowing trainees to sign on the left side? Kelsey?
It depends. Some do, some don't allow it.
Exactly right, Lori. Some do, some don't. And that's something we need to shake up the industry and let's get it changed, right? The lenders need to start letting us use qualified, competent trainees and send them out there. If we get an order on Strickland Drive and it's 1,000 square foot home and they make me go with Kelsey, it's just a waste of my time, because I'm going to go there and stand there and watch her do everything that she does when I could be out doing another appraisal somewhere else. So all of these, folks complaining, it's taking so long to get an appraisal. Well, let us use the qualified, competent folks. Let's let Kelsey go do that one. And I could be off doing a different one. And we could be doing 2 in the time it takes now for us to do 1. And guess what? If the lending community would allow us to do that, we'd probably bring on at least another trainee, maybe 2 more trainees. And we're not talking about creating a mill and doing, inferior work. Let's get them trained. Kelsey is very competent to go do that by herself. Take the shackles off of me and let's send Kelsey out to do the work she's qualified to do. It's very frustrating. Sarah, are you guys working for clients that will allow you to sign the report?
We do some from class. Some of the lenders will. I'm not at that point yet. I'm close, probably in the next month or so.
Okay.
But Arizona's is just, there's not a certain set amount of hours or inspections. It's when I'm competent. So as soon as we are, then we will compile a list of specific lenders that will let me.
Nakia, what about you? You're still officially a trainee. So are you signing the reports, or are you just being mentioned in the certification?
There's just a statement about me providing the significant assistance in the report. I haven't been signing, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm not allowed or because my mentor maybe doesn't want to really ruffle any feathers with the AMCs that she's working for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Casey, when you were a trainee, what about you? Did you sign those, or were you just, because with Kelsey, I don't know if it's even 50-50. Some she signs, some she's not allowed to. She gets credit for working on those. So the requirement is Standard Rule 2-3 of USPAP. I have to list Kelsey by name in the certification. Kelsey Randall provided significant real property appraisal assistance. And then somewhere in the report, we just put it in the certification, but it doesn't have to be. Somewhere in the report, a description of what she did has to be in there. And that way she can log it. But whenever she can sign, she'll sign on the left, I'll sign on the right. What about you, Casey? What the history of you being a long-term trainee? Were you able to sign those or no?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, not so much with Mr. Moore. He was a little bit hesitant about me signing. But with Jeff, oh yeah, I signed just about on every appraisal that I did assistance for. Now, Mr. Moore did have a clause in his in reference to my my assistance, but as far as the signature, I didn't really sign. Maybe on a couple of them that they asked for my signature, but normally I didn't sign on his reports.
Okay. Okay. So I want to close out with a couple of things because we're over our hour, and maybe we do this again. You know, this is a hot topic, and we didn't cover everything we need to cover. We're just running out of time. But I am super excited about something that happened just before we went on the air. So I am president of the National Association of Appraisers. I created the trainee committee.
Yeah.
So a little while back, we created a trainee committee, which was an ad hoc committee to establish a new membership category of the NAA, and it's specifically for trainees. And Sierra is a member, Kelsey is a member, and Nakia is a member. So it's called an associate member, and we're super excited that the NAA did that. Thank you to Josh Wallet and his team on that committee to make that happen, and the board of directors for voting to approve that. So thank you. We're all about trainees, right? We're all about supervisors taking on trainees. And so an ad hoc committee, once their mission is complete, it kind of goes away. It dissolves. It's over with. So I felt the need, as many members of the NAA felt the need, that we need a trainee committee. So we created a trainee committee, and Pat Felvey and Sierra have agreed to co-chair that committee. And I also am very passionate about creating what's called the trainee network, which we just did. And so Sierra, let's just fill them in a little bit. We just had a meeting prior to this broadcast, and we're talking about some things we're going to do at the upcoming summit, the Appraisal Summit in Las Vegas. And we're probably going to do something very similar at the next spring conference, ACTS, in Charleston. Tell them what we're going to do on that Saturday, Sierra, that we talked to Teresa about just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited that we're going to be able to help so many trainees this way. Obviously, we can try and help in Clubhouse and things like these, but this will be a large scale networking event, which will be great. So so on the summit in the fall in Vegas, we're actually going to have a training network time on that Saturday. Hopefully we're going to have some speakers, maybe some role playing about some interviewing and how to interview with a mentor. And then our goal is, if we have enough supervisors and trainees there, to have some kind of a job fair, open interviews, so that if there are supervisors looking for trainees, that they have a set period of time that they can sit down with as many trainees that are there available in that area and actually have one-on-one interviews with them. And at some point, we're going to have a trainee cocktail or brunch or mimosa, something like that, so all the trainees can get together as well. And I'm really excited about it, and hopefully we can do it at every conference moving forward, and try and have as many trainees and supervisors as possible so we can benefit as many as possible.
Yeah, so what Sierra is talking about would be on November the 6th, right? The Appraisal Summit is in Las Vegas from November 6th through the 9th. And we're going to have the trainee network meet on that Saturday from 1 to 4 and talk about stuff. And then from 4 to 5, we're going to have a job fair, so that if you want to get in the profession and you want to talk to some folks that might be interested in bringing on a trainee, we're going to have a little job fair from 4 to 5. And then from 5 to 7, we'll have a little social event, maybe a cocktail hour or something for the trainees. So we're super excited about that. We encourage you to join the NAA if you're wanting to become an appraiser, if you're already an appraiser. And even if you don't join, we would encourage you to attend the conference in the fall, as well as the next ACTS conference in Charleston. So we're certainly excited about that. Guys, thank you for being here today. I know you're all very busy, and I kind of roped you in at the last minute. Kelsey's got to get back to work, but I think everybody does. Sierra, Casey, Kelsey, and Nakia, if someone wanted to reach out to you And someone asked a moment ago on here, and we're just out of time. Santora said, if I want to join your Clubhouse group, how do I do that? Right. So Sierra, if someone wants to reach out to you, how do they get in touch with Miss Sierra?
Yeah, I can have Ben put my email in the chat for anybody. But I'm also on Facebook, on Instagram, all of that. So you're more than welcome to reach out to me that way. But yeah, I can definitely give Ben my email so he can post it.
Very good. Casey, how does somebody reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Same as Sierra, and also I don't mind. They can have my cell phone number, so I can provide that. Well, Ben already has it, and we can go ahead and post that, and they can ask me questions. I'm available.
Very cool. Nakia, somebody wants to talk to you.
I'm typing my email address in now. Someone reached out to me yesterday, a trainee that had heard me in Clubhouse, and she emailed me and we exchanged phone numbers. She's in Texas being trained by her aunt. She's a few months out from certified general, but she's going to return to the Atlanta area. And I'm looking forward to connecting with her because I'm hoping in a few years she can take me from certified residential to general as well.
How exciting. How exciting. See, that's how this works, guys. We just come together, we network a little bit. Someone, a seasoned appraiser said, Brian, just think if this was available wouldn't it have been awesome if this was available when we were starting out? And we didn't have this ability to come together and get information and have opportunities to network and collaborate. So it's wonderful. Kelsey, how does somebody get in touch with you?
Same as everybody else. I just sent my email in the chat. So if Ben could put that up, that'd probably be the best way to reach me.
Very cool. Or you can check out Sierra and Kelsey on Mondays at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time on Clubhouse, because they're going to have a continued conversation about trainees. So you might want to check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Appraisal Report webinar brought to you by Appraiser eLearning. Thank you so much for very much for being here today. Look for us again next month. I've got a special guest already lined up. If you would like to be a guest or know someone that would make a good guest, please reach out to us. Let us know, and we'd be happy to have them on the program. For Sierra, Casey, Kelsey, and Nakia, I'm Brian Reynolds. Thank you very much for being here. Until next time, please be very safe and happy appraising.
Okay.